Like and subscribe right now or Grumble will literally come and eat you. Anyways, let's begin. Guiding Light is your partner in crime, which is 90% of the time because all your teammates just die. But what is this entity? Why is it our only ally? Guiding Light is the centerpiece of the entire Doors storyline. There's been so many new things revealed in the Floor 2 update. It's actually crazy. And I think it's finally time that we can piece together some sort of a story for this game. And I really need your help. So let me know in the comments what you think so that I can maybe get some ideas and get some support. So Guiding Light is literally your saving grace indoors, especially in Floor 2. As we see in Floor 2, during the Seek minecart chase, for an example, Guiding Light is literally the one who saves you from dying. Guiding Light pushes the minecart so that you don't fall to your doom and just die right there. So he literally saves you multiple times, and without him you would not be alive. But the exchange is mutual, and I want to get more into it. Guiding Light has also gotten an update in Floor 2, where upon dying you can see that Guiding Light is actually a crescent moon, and Curious Light is actually a star, which was hinted way back in Floor 1. And this makes me wonder what Mischievous Light could be based on, but more on Mischievous Light on its dedicated video. I'll also make a video on Curious Light. But Guiding Light, who's actually losing his powers, and in Floor 3 we might be backstabbing Guiding Light. Okay, so firstly, as we see the statue from Floor 1, well actually the statue which got a significant update isn't really Guiding Light himself. Instead, the crown we see is actually the Guiding Light angel. Well, we can all certainly agree that Guiding Light, Curious Light, and Mischievous Light are all angel beings. And the crown, well, it's not really an actual crown, but rather a biblically accurate angel. Now, the devs have stated that this game isn't focusing on any religious beliefs, but they are kind of contradicting themselves by literally adding a crucifix, which crucifies all evil creatures. But it doesn't have to follow any religious beliefs. They can always take inspiration. But the main point is, who exactly is Guiding Light, and how does he tie the entire story of Doors together? Well, Guiding Light, along with Curious Light and Mischievous Light, are all angelic beings who once served, well, I don't want to say served, but they were related to the figure we see as the statue. As Floor 3 comes out, it's gonna cover the whole castle saga for the Doors storyline. But whose castle are we actually going inside? Guiding Light? Well, not really. Why would an angelic being have a castle? Why doesn't Curious Light or Mischievous Light not have a castle? And I don't think an angelic crescent moon being would need to rest his ass on a throne. So it leads me to believe that the person we see in the statue is actually the owner, or actually the king of the castle we're about to enter in Floor 3. So let's just call him the king for now. Now, in front of the king's statue, we see something written in the Wingding font, and it translates to the word limbo. Now, limbo means a state of nothingness. It means to be separated from reality. So, perhaps the king is stuck in a limbo. This is quite literally blatantly written in front of his statue. Like, bro literally has a castle and his own statue made of him. He also has a sick sword. Now, how does this all tie into Guiding Light? And also, I want to throw in Mischievous Light into the mix to ask the grand question: who trapped the king into a limbo, and what are the purpose of each of the angelic lights? Well, staying true to his name, Guiding Light was assigned to the task of guiding the king. On the other hand, Mischievous Light and Curious Light, I want to cover them in a separate video, so our focus is Guiding Light for now. Well, Guiding Light, after losing the king, who's now trapped in an endless limbo, which I speculate and kind of have proof to back this claim up, was actually trapped by Mischievous Light himself. yourself. Guiding Light's only hope is you, the player. So Guiding Light does everything he can in his power to help you. He helps you escape from death, and he recognizes you as the only one who can stop Mischievous Light's schemes. He helps you escape the hotel and escape the mines, and then reach floor 3, the castle, where we can finally get some more storyline information in floor 3, which is gonna come out in like 3 years. But I think this is where Guiding Light is losing his powers and becoming weaker and weaker. So as we can see, after a door closes, you can see Guiding Light protects you from the previous room's entity, but at the end it turns red, as if Mischievous Light is overriding Guiding Light's powers. I'm not saying Guiding Light is the red Mischievous Light, but I'm saying he's getting weaker. Let me introduce to you what spiritual symbol is on the ground, which appears when you use the crucifix against any spirit demon. The symbol is known as the Seal of Solomon, which has the power to command demons. And I know the devs have stated that the game isn't going to be following any particular religion, but this isn't about religion itself. It's more about there being two more celestial, just like Guiding Light. In the symbol, there's actually something written in the Winding font saying one of the 3 artifacts marked by celestials assists you. This confirms that the crucifix is marked by Guiding Light, who is a celestial being, and it also confirms that there are more than one celestial other than Guiding Light. So it's confirmed that there's 3 artifacts for the 3 celestials: the crucifix for Guiding Light, the barrel of starlight for Curious Light, which was actually added into the floor 2 update, and that item helps you become really powerful for 2 minutes. And in floor 3 you might see some artifact for Mischievous Light, which is yet to come, and that could be our main item in floor 3, the castle, where we can fight against Mischievous Light or even Guiding Light. I believe that the Guiding Light's true purpose isn't to help you, cause you're just some loser who can't even beat floor 1.
What did he say?
I believe that Guiding Light is staying true to his purpose of serving or helping the king. He needs your help in order to set the king free. That's why he goes into such lengths to protect you. And in floor 3, we can most definitely expect to find more stuff about the king, as we are literally entering his castle, and we might even finally meet Mischievous Light. But actually, we have already met Mischievous Light, who's also the reason we cannot crucify the damn Seek at the end of floor 2. The king. Now, you might be wondering, who the crap is the king? Now, the king is actually a theory of mine, and let me explain. So, in floor 1, after door 90, the courtyard section of the game, which recently got an update, and it looks completely different now, and it has a lot of lore added to it, as well as secrets. Now, one in particular is the statue, which was also updated. Now, the statue was previously seen as Guiding Light's statue, but after the update, it tells us a lot more, and I can confidently say that the statue isn't Guiding Light, as we already know that Guiding Light is a celestial body, and he's actually the crescent moon, and Curious Light, who is the star. Now, the next door floor is the castles, and if we are entering a castle, the castle must have a king. Like, that's an obvious thing. So my theory is that this courtyard section of the map was actually a part of the castle, and the castle had the statue for the king. But since we all know that the floors like hotel, the mines are all connected as we rise from the mines and then enter the castle at the end of floor 2. Now my theory is this statue isn't Guiding Light, but rather the statue of the king, who is now stuck in a limbo according to the stone tablet in front of him. And the 3 items attached to the king are the 3 celestials. Previously I said that this is a biblically accurate angel, but I was wrong, and this literally looks like Seek. Even in the game files it's called eyelids, so the crown thing could represent Seek or Mischievous Light. who is literally covering the king's eyes, and that's very intentional. And the wing and the sword could represent Curious Light or Guiding Light vice versa. Now, due to some events, the king is now stuck in a limbo along with Guiding Light, Curious Light, and Mischievous Light, who were once celestial bodies like the star and the moon, and now, due to some event, they are nothing but particles, and only after you die do you see them talk to you directly. Now, this is just a theory, so take this with a big grain of salt. The vine creature. So in floor 2, door 152, we explored the place a little. If we explore the place of Jeff's shop, we can see that there's actually a vine creature who is really suspicious. Now, the vine that can be seen holding a broken lamppost, who El Goblino actually comments on the vine being sus, and El Goblino drops big lore for the players. Now, the vines can also be seen in floor 1's courtyard. The courtyard also has one of these vines which stretches for a long path. The devs have said that the courtyard holds a lot of secrets. Now, it is speculated that, from what the devs have said, the snare entity could be the vine creature. The devs have stated that the snare entity isn't just one mob, but rather a network of mobs. The snare mob could be the vine creature, and that could be just a prelude of what's to come in floor 3. We can finally see the real head of the snare mob, and who knows, maybe it will be the boss for door 350. Alright, Seek is single-handedly the hardest entity indoors. He literally has black hair force energy. Bro has the dog in him. Now, Seek in floor 1 seemed like just another entity that blocked your path. But now, after seeing the ending for floor 2, Seek might be the big bad of all of doors. But there might actually be someone else behind the scenes who's even more powerful than Seek, and how Mischievous Light is actually behind everything. And in this video, I'll cover just that. So, Seek we see at the end of floor 2 after he infects the giant Grumble with his goop. He looks at you menacingly. So, first thing I actually want to cover is the Seek family tree. Now, the devs have stated that Seek has no shape or form, so he takes the form he thinks is best in order to kill the player. Like we see the humanoid Seek at floor 50 as well as floor 200. We also see the damn Seek with its other creatures that we have to fight against in floor 200. Seek can take any shape or form. Now, from what we know, the giggles we've discovered in floor 2 in the mines are actually smaller and younger versions of Grumbles according to Guiding Light. The Grumble are like an ant's colony. There's a queen Grumble and there's 4 other Grumbles who are normal males, and they serve the queen. The queen is actually way faster and stronger, and we see her with 8 tentacles at the end of floor 2. Now, the queen gives birth to giggles who are all over the mine. And if you put the giggles and the screeches side by side, you can see that they're quite literally the same creature. But Screech is just infected by Seek. We actually have evidence of this. In floor 150, we see all these dead giggles who are infected by Seek, and they look exactly like Screeches. So, we can evidently check the box that Screeches are just infected giggles, as from what we saw at the end of floor 2. Seek infects the queen Grumble, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to deal with the giant Seek infected Grumble in floor 3, which makes Seek the all-powerful indoors. But what if I told you that Seek is actually controlled by Mischievous Light, and that Mischievous Light is behind everything and Seek is just another pawn in its game? So, we all know that there's 3 celestial beings. From the encrypted writing on the crucifix, the 3 amulets in the generator room, which are colored after the 3 celestials, Curious Light, Guiding Light, and Mischievous Light, and finally, this is confirmed by the painting we see in floor 1, where we can see Curious Light, who's a star, Guiding Light, who's a crescent moon, and we also see the red Mischievous Light, who actually has the symbol of the modifiers. And it could be true that Mischievous Light is actually Mischievous Light himself, as well as the modifiers, because the modifiers are intended to make the game harder, which is quite literally what Mischievous Light means. So Mischievous Light and the modifiers can be the same thing at the same time. So we might have actually been fighting against Mischievous Light all this time, and here's my proof. Alright my friends, I've taken some feedback from the past Doors videos, and I've come up with a great theory for the entire Doors storyline, and this might be crazy. So hopefully Red watches these videos again and comments what he thinks. Alright, our big bad enemy isn't Seek or Figure or even Grumble, but rather it is none other than Mischievous Light himself or herself. Now, a lot of you have pointed out that, oh, Mischievous Light is the light known as the modifiers. Well, it could be true, but I'm not denying that. Mischievous Light can be the modifiers as well as the evil entity of Doors at the same time, as literally modifying the game makes it harder, which is quite literally what Mischievous Light's existence is meant to be, making it impossible for the player to actually beat the game. So Mischievous Light and modifiers are the same things, no problem with that. But how is that connected to anything related to the Doors storyline? Well, a lot actually. Quite literally, Mischievous Light as well as Guiding Light are the centerpieces of the entire lore for Doors. Now, I've said this before that we have already seen Mischievous Light in action. In fact, we see him all the time. And no, I'm not talking about the modifiers here, but what I'm about to show you will make you wonder that everything was right under our noses all this time. Okay, so when we first encounter Seek, we see him become from literal goop to a humanoid creature. But Seek was confirmed by the developers that he doesn't actually have a body and can take the shape of literally anything, even your grandma. And that's been proven by the damn Seek we see at floor 2, door 200. So if Seek is actually nothing but a raisin or just black goop in general, then how does he take a humanoid form? Or how is he even the main villain of Doors, as we see from the ending of floor 2? Seek is quite literally pissed, and he's hunting you down personally, even to the point he's taking down the Queen Grumble and infecting her. But what if I told you Seek isn't the main villain, but rather it's actually all Mischievous Light's doing? So every time we see Seek appear indoors during the Seek chase, you can always see that he has a red glow to him. Every time you encounter Seek, the red light is always there. Now, I believe that Seek doesn't have a shape or form, but it is rather Mischievous Light who is controlling Seek and giving Seek the shape of the entities, as we see the humanoid form, the damn Seek form, as well as some smaller Seek creatures at door 200. And it is also Mischievous Light that is turning all the giggles and grumbles into screeches as more Seek creatures. And I have proof of this. So during the ending cutscene for floor 2, when Seek literally kills the Queen Grumble, we see him cover her in Seek goop, which maybe in floor 3 we get to fight the actual infected Grumble. So during the ending cutscene for floor 2, when Seek literally kills the Queen, and after infecting the Queen, he emerges. But if I slow down the footage, you can see the red light appear again as the Queen Grumble is infected. As mentioned before, Mischievous Light is controlling Seek and turning everything to another Seek creature, as only a celestial being, according to mythology, can create life. And that is exactly what Mischievous Light is doing. He is creating life. Mischievous Light is one of the 3 celestials we see in this painting, along with Guiding Light and Curious Light. So I have a theory that the statue we see in floor 1, which was actually updated in floor 2, represents the king and his 3 calamities. We see the king who is now stuck in a limbo, as written from the stone tablet, written in the winding font. We can also get some reassurance from the 3 switches we see in the beginning of floor 2. The generator requires the power of all 3 amulets, and they're all colored red, blue, and yellow, just like the 3 celestials. Maybe all 3 celestials' powers are required to bring back the king, who the king used to have 3 of these celestials by his side. Due to some event, the king is now stuck in an endless limbo, leaving these 3 celestials behind. And the only way to break the king out from the limbo that he's now stuck, leaving his 3 celestials behind, and the only possible way to break the king out of the limbo is to use all 3 celestial architects on the king. Perhaps like the crucifix for guiding light, the vial of starlight for curious light, and some new architect for mischievous light, which is yet to come out. As we see, the crucifix has the hidden writing written in the winding font, which translated says one of the 3 architects marked by celestials assists you. Mischievous Light, who always craved blood, staying true to his name, creating monsters to take control and power all over reality. Curious Light, being the laid-back celestial that he is, doesn't really care about anything. And Guiding Light, always being the righteous and being by the side of the king, helps you go through the right path. We can see that the creatures like Seek and Figure are actually created by celestials. Note that in rooms, if you take a crucifix with you in rooms, the crucifix is gonna say, "This feels lighter than usual," and you cannot crucify any of the mobs or entities that spawn in rooms. I predict that Figure was actually created by Curious Light, as he emits a yellow aura, who's also tasked with protecting the library where all the place of knowledge actually resides. And Seek, of course, created by Mischievous Light. And this can be proven when we go to crucify Seek or Figure. They both get stopped, but they don't die. But rather, the spell of the crucifix is broken as it turns red. They're only temporarily stopped. So, in floor 3, we will most definitely see more from Mischievous Light, as he finally thinks of you as a challenge from what we saw from the ending of floor 2. Seek, controlled by Mischievous Light, is going to hunt you like a damn dog in floor 3. And God knows how hard floor 3 is going to be. Gloombats. Gloombats are actually quite interesting. They can be found all throughout the mines, inside eggs, and they hate light and will attack anything that has a little bit of a glow in order to protect their offsprings, which are the eggs. Now, the Gloombats are actually neutral entities, which means they don't attack the player instantly if they see them. Gloombats also lay eggs on dead bodies of players, which is just truly gross. But if a player dies in a Gloombat infested room, they instantly lay eggs on the player. Now, the Gloombats are food for Figure. Figure actually eats the Gloombats as food, meaning Figure is actually a natural predator of the Gloombats. Now, that was a lot of headcanoning and guessing and piecing in puzzles that I found fitting for the narrative from the king and the castle, as well as Mischievous Light. So obviously, this is all a theory, a game theory. So let me know what you think in the comments. So, Curious Light, one of the most important characters in Doors. Curious Light actually drops the biggest lore dump in the whole of Doors, and this helps us piece the entire story of Doors, and it's big. So before I get into the big reveal, please consider subscribing and liking and commenting on what you think on this reveal. But anyways, so Curious Light, one of the Celestials alongside Guiding Light and Mischievous Light, who is a star, as we can see from the painting in Door 60 called Space Time. Now, Curious Light is really interesting because Curious Light, unlike Guiding Light, doesn't really help you much, but rather he's a neutral kind of character. Neither do you get any help from him, or neither does he go against us. But instead, from a lot of dialogues when we die in the rooms or the back doors, we get some massive lore dumps on how this game actually works. And these revelations will make you question the entirety of Doors and what the story actually is. Okay, so this death message, for example, says, Curious Light says, "Dead again, I knew you would come back." Basically, once you die to an entity, Curious Light knows that you're dead dead, but you have the ability to come back and start over, almost like we're stuck in a limbo and the things we're doing are repeating over and over again, and you actually just can't die. Now, Curious Light knows the names of entities that we die to, like the death message they say for dying to Blitz, the Lookman, or any other entity. Now, Curious Light knows the names of each entity, but the devs have confirmed this in a tweet that the entities actually have no names, but it's actually you, the player, who gives these names of the entities. But if that's the case, then why does Curious Light know the names of some of the entities, especially in this example? So one of Curious Light's death messages in the back rooms, when you die to Blitz, it says, "She said to call this one Blitz." It doesn't make sense, does it? Well, it sorta does. Let me explain. So this tweet was made a while ago, but I theorized that Guiding Light doesn't know the names of the entities, but rather you give the entities the name that Guiding Light says you died to who you call Rush, Ambush, or whatever halt. But Curious Light actually never comments on any of the hotel entities, right? Like Rush or Ambush. So, Curious Light never actually reveals their true name and not the ones that you have given them, like Rush. And Curious Light knows the names of the entities because she is telling him the names. So if Guiding Light doesn't know any of the names of the entities, then who exactly is Curious Light talking about when they say, "She said to call this one Blitz"? Well, it's pretty obvious that it's referring to Mischievous Light, the she character who actually hosts these entities in the first place. And it seems like, according to the painting Space-Time, we see that Curious Light is right in the middle, and Guiding Light and Mischievous Light are at the complete opposite sides of each other, meaning Curious Light is like a neutral character. Credits to this guy in the comments. He mentions that the generator amulet, where 99% of the time the blue amulet is almost always there, blue aka Guiding Light, and it's always implemented into the generator to begin with. We have to find the other two, the yellow and the red. And the yellow, which is supposed to represent Curious Light, that amulet can be found in the generators implemented, but not all the time. It's sometimes there, it's sometimes not there. Now this explains a lot more about the story if you think about it, as Guiding Light is always there for you, Curious Light is there for you sometimes as a neutral character, and the red one, Mischievous Light, that amulet is never seen to be in the right place, almost as if she is causing all the problems. Now I want to cover something different. So we all know that in front of the king's statue in the courtyard, which was updated in floor 2, there's now a stone tablet saying the word limbo, meaning we're all stuck in a limbo, and Curious Light and Guiding Light are also stuck in this limbo. As we know, the real forms of them are the moon and the star respectively, and only after we die do we get to talk to them and see their true form. But after a big event, whatever caused this limbo, it froze everything, as well as Curious Light and Guiding Light. Now they're nothing but sparkles of dust. As Curious Light and Guiding Light, they both say to you that please do continue the game, it would be helpful, meaning the lights need our help. And I speculate that they need our help to somehow get out of this limbo and set them free into their true forms. Now I don't know how the devs are gonna implement it, I don't even know if the devs know how to implement it, but this is all speculation, and it all comes down to Mischievous Light, who started everything. Now I want to cover Curious Light's architect piece. Now, before anyone comments that the lights aren't actually celestials, they are architects, that's not true, because celestials, the word celestial means a body in space, and that's exactly what the lights are. They are celestials, they're not architects. And from the windings translated from the crucifix, we know that there are 3 architects. Now, Curious Light's architect piece was actually the NVCS 3000 tablet. Now, the NVCS tablet's specialty was that you could see hidden items behind locked doors, and you could find them very easily, which would be only available once you beat the rooms. But the NVCS 3000 tablet was actually removed and it was replaced with the Vial of Starlight, which is actually super OP. You get 4 chances to use it, and it makes you super fast and gives you another health bar basically. It's really overpowered. Now, previously the NVCS tablet was the architect piece which belonged to Curious Light, but it's now been changed to a more obvious reference, the Bottle of Starlight. So, out of the 3 architect pieces, the Crucifix for Guiding Light and the Vial of Starlight for Curious Light, and the last one, which would be for Mischievous Light, and that is yet to be revealed. But Curious Light, the crafty one, he knows more than what he leads on. He is just like my relationship. She's never giving me a clear answer. So another thing I want to cover is there are different realms in the Doors universe. So basically, when we first join the game and exit to the lobby, we see that this place that is always raining, even in floor 1, or if it's floor 2, the mines, the rain is never ending. Almost as if that we are stuck in a limbo and everything is repeating. But after we beat the rooms, we end up on the other side where we see more portals and stuff. But if you notice carefully, the rain seems to be not there in the rooms, meaning this part of the Doors game doesn't occur inside the limbo. This means there's definitely a way out of this hotel, the mines, basically the Doors universe, where we enter a normal world where everything is normal and not overran by rushes and monsters and sneaks. I assume that we need to get rid of Mischievous Light, the root of all destruction, to break this limbo and set free to all the Celestials who are actively asking for our help, like Guiding Light and Curious Light. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm intrigued to know what you think about Curious Light. Every single entity with an origin backstory, I'll explain it in this video. And all I want you guys to do is watch the entire video, and if I was able to convince any of you about any of the entities' backstories, I just want you to like the video and comment to let me know whether I was right or wrong. And I'll have a video up soon covering the entire timeline of Doors and how all of the entities play a role in the story. Alright, so anyways, without further ado, let's begin with the creator of all entities, Guiding Light. Guiding Light is your partner in crime, which is 90% of the time because all your teammates just die. But what is this entity? Why is it our only ally in a hotel full of demonic creatures? I'll explain Guiding Light's true backstory and why you might not want to trust this entity in the future. Guiding Light is a spiritual light. The light guides you to keys, paintings, and helps you during the chase against Seek. But even after you die, Guiding Light is the one that gives you tips and tricks and explains to you your death and how to play the game. Guiding Light isn't actually called Guiding Light. You guys know the Crucifix. It's literally made from Guiding Light's power. The power to stop any spiritual demon, even itself. But there's one entity that cannot be killed, and that's Figure. And I'll tell you why Figure is an exception at the end of the video. Guiding Light stored its powers in the Crucifix to fight off against any demons you might come across. Guiding Light was something the Death Message soundtrack is actually called, and the Doors devs and the community started calling the light Guiding Light. But what's more to Guiding Light? Well, perhaps Guiding Light is the single most important entity in the game. Let me introduce to you what spiritual symbol is on the ground, which appears when you use the Crucifix against any spirit demon. The symbol is known as the Seal of Solomon, which has the power to command demons. And I know the devs have stated that the game isn't going to be following any particular religion, but this isn't about religion itself. It's more about there being two more celestial just like Guiding Light. In the symbol, there's actually something written in the winding font saying one of the 3 artifacts marked by celestials assists you. This confirms that the crucifix is marked by guiding light, who is a celestial being, and it also confirms that there are more than one celestial other than guiding light. And I suspect there's 3 celestials, or there could be more. One of them's obviously guiding light, and the other one is Curious Light. Curious Light is a tricky one, but it seems like Curious Light is more of a laid-back old celestial who has a hard time giving you tips about the game and just basically tells you, oh well, try again and maybe don't move next time. More of a laid-back celestial, but the 3rd celestial isn't in the game just yet. But I suspect its color is gonna be red, and maybe its purpose could be to guide you in the wrong direction and throw you off of your course. Anyways, let me know how you guys feel about Guiding Light after hearing its backstory. Curious Light, one of the 3 celestials indoors. It's been confirmed that there are 3 celestial beings, one being Guiding Light, the other one being Curious Light, and the last one, it's not really in the game yet, so I can't really say anything about it. But with some speculation, I believe because of Guiding Light's experiment, all 3 celestials lost their bodies, and now they're just a pair of dust particles. And what experiment am I actually talking about? Well, I want to go into full detail about the experiment in the actual Doors timeline video and not the entity analysis backstory video. But the thing is, Curious Light and the other celestials all live in their own realms of reality where their powers don't work on each other. As we see the crucifix not working in rooms, this being the same case with the candle not working in rooms, meaning this confirms that one celestial cannot degrade another celestial as their powers don't work against them, and all of them are considered to be equal in power. But Curious Light, being a laid-back celestial, doesn't really care that he lost his body. And that's about it, I think. I don't think there's more to Guiding Light, or unless I'm missing something. Figure is hands down the scariest monster in Doors. But what the hell is Figure? I'll explain the real reason why Figure is the main boss in Doors, and why he's one of the only monsters the crucifix doesn't kill. Figure first appears at door 50 and once again at door 100, making him the true boss of Doors. Well, my question is, how does this lanky figure go from door 50, the library, to door 100, the elevator room? Well, the explanation is quite simple. There are actually hidden passageways in the walls of the rooms where they lead to other parts of the area. So it could be possible that Figure follows either the sound of El Goblino's knocks or your footsteps from level 50 to all the way to level 100. Or there might even be a secret passageway we don't know about. I mean, there's literally people finding where he isn't supposed to be at. Now the explanation to its origin and backstory. Figure was originally going to look like this. He literally looks like Siren Head in its first creation, but the design had later been changed to more of a Demogorgon-like figure that we all like or hate. But what is Figure actually? Well, I assume that Figure is a golem made from flesh of living creatures. It has a bone structure covered in some sort of meat. The devs have stated that none of the entities are actually humans, so it cannot be a modified human experiment gone wrong. The flesh of the figure can actually be found around various parts of the rooms, with bugs surrounding it. And yes, this does belong to Figure, thus alluding to the fact that Figure can actually move around anywhere in the map, except for the door in door 50. So Figure was created out of flesh and bones, and I assume that Guiding Light is actually the creator of both, especially Seek and Figure. Guiding Light is confirmed to be one of the celestial beings that created the hotel by this hidden message. It's obvious that no human can move an entire hotel from one reality to another, as we see the entire hotel flying in an empty space from outside the lobby. So everything in the game must be the celestial, aka Guiding Light's doing. The purpose of a celestial being is to create life, and true to its purpose, Guiding Light created the creator creature, Figure, to protect the hotel and eliminate any potential threats. But for some unknown reason, something might have happened to our beloved guiding light, not being able to escape from this reality, being stuck forever. He has no choice but to guide you to the end of the light. He's forced to fight against his own creations, being the only good entity by your side, because he doesn't want a random wandering player to get involved in his mess. Or maybe even Guiding Light needs your help to fight against the monsters he has created in order to escape. Also, real quick, please consider subscribing and liking if you just like doors. That's it. Alright, yeah, thanks. And this might be the reason why the crucifix doesn't kill the Figure and Seek, because they're actually his own creation, and Guiding Light's powers are only able to stun the monsters for a short amount of time. Guiding Light was inspired by the Warden from Minecraft and decided to create his own red and lanky version. I'm not kidding, by the way. He was heavily inspired by the Warden from Minecraft. Guiding Light made the Warden that protects the library and the entire room, who has no eyes, and he created Seek, the one who's literally made out of eyeballs. Seek is actually made up of black something and just covered in hundreds of eyes. They both go hand in hand, protecting Guiding Light's creation. One is the protector and the other one looks above everything to seek out any perpetrators like you. Figure cannot see, as that's Seek's job, but he can actually hear your heartbeat and even gets better at hearing your heartbeat when you approach level 100. The Figure was created to be very athletic, get past any obstacles, and protect its home, which his guardian angel left behind. You can see in the Doors wiki, Figure and Guiding Light are the only ones labeled as main entities of the game. Figure's home, the library, may contain Guiding Light's research, which might be the thing Figure is trying to protect, and that's why Guiding Light knows exactly where all the books are with the numbers, which could mean that the library was in fact Guiding Light's workplace. Also, why is there a yellow light in Figure's head? Could it perhaps mean that another light celestial is controlling the Figure? Maybe Curious Light could be the one controlling the Figure. The Figure's backstory is really confusing, but I'm 100% sure that he was created to protect the library and the hotel, and Guiding Light was the one who created him and Seek. Seek, the mascot for Doors. He's the very first thing that every player sees when clicking on Doors. A tall, black figure chases you down.
What did he say?
The game's icon itself has backstory, almost like it's watching you through the screen even if you're not playing Doors. Seek, the scariest Doors entity, and its origin. So you encounter Seek for the first time at around door 30, but what if I said that you encounter him a lot earlier? You see, this painting isn't actually a painting, it's a frame full of eyes, Seek's eyes. Clicking upon it literally says that this isn't a painting. Also, if you go on Roblox Studio, you can see that when coming down the elevator, there are actually eyes around the elevator. So Seek is literally seeking you out even before you enter the first door. But why? Aside from him being a gameplay mechanic, why does Seek exist? And as a visitor of the hotel, why would he even try to kill you? Well, this is where Seek's origin story actually starts. Seek is created from slimy and gooey like substance filled to the brim with eyes. Seek is one of the only entities that have scripted cutscenes along with his partner in crime, Figure. Seek is just as important as Figure, because Seek and Figure were created to protect the hotel that Guiding Light had created. Both of them were assigned to their roles, one as the protector and the other one as the entity that looks above everything else. Seek isn't actually a human, but rather takes a form of your species to take you down in a scary way. Seek has full control over the entire hotel to warn Figure about any perpetrators. He is just following what his master commanded him to do. Guiding Light, the creator of every entity, chose these two entities that would protect his creation at all cost. But for some unknown reason, Guiding Light now fights against his own beloved creation. instead helping you in every way possible, even bringing him down to his knees in order to help you escape and set itself free. Guiding Light, when he was a celestial being, gave life to Seek, and now his own creations cannot recognize him, as he's now just some sparkle of light. Makes you wonder whether to feel bad for Guiding Light, or is it what he deserves for bringing such monsters to the world. So there you have it, Seek's backstory, and why Seek is one of the main pillars of Guiding Light's creation. El Goblino, our favorite little red goblin, who by far has revealed the most about the secret lore of doors. El Goblino might be small, but he packs quite a punch. I'll go over the entire origin backstory of this little red goblin. First of all, El Goblino was actually implemented in the game because of XQC. The devs of the game are a big fan of XQC, and after he played the game, they had to implement his famous goblin mode thing that he does on stream. Every sentence that ends with dude is actually a reference to XQC saying dude like every 2 seconds.
Okay, dude. Listen, dude. Wait, guys, I'm at full transparency, dude.
That's how El Goblino was added to the game, but the devs took a turn to use El Goblino to explain a whole lot of lore. Firstly, game theory's theory for doors was stated to be not accurate, so it means that he isn't actually a duende from folklore, but instead he's just a regular old goblin. And if you look up what are goblins known for, you'll find out that they're actually known for stealing, of course, which El Goblino points out that he pays Jeff for sandwiches with gold coins he finds around the hotel, but he also says that,
Oh yeah, if you hear me scrambling about there somewhere, don't be alarmed, dude. That guy's gotta eat.
he also says,
Sometimes I like to knock on the walls, scare the pants off the humans. It's so funny, dude.
which confirms that all the ambient noises that we hear are actually made by El Goblino, which aligns with what goblins are actually known for in our own world, knocking on doors to scare the pants off the players. But all that is only the surface level stuff. El Goblino's story goes a lot deeper. First, here are some of the dialogues that stood out to me.
Oh yeah, stay a while if you like. We are the only creatures here who won't try to kill you, hombre.
Which means that aside from Guiding Light, these three creatures are the only good creatures in the entire game. And I believe that because of Guiding Light, these three have been sucked into our reality, which this dialogue in particular explains.
People call me small. Ah, man. When I spawned in, I was much smaller, huh? Wait,
This is big lore dump from this small dude. So basically, if you look up how long it takes for a goblin to reach adulthood, it's mentioned that it takes about 8 years. Meaning, Bob, Jeff, and El Goblino have been stuck in this hotel for years upon years. At the very least, it's been 8 years since these creatures got trapped in this hotel. They've been waiting for a hero to come and save them, but Bob literally turned into a skeleton waiting for you. And from El Goblino's other dialogue,
Bob wants to make friends with that Timothy guy. It's a bug, man. Bob needs to eat something, man. Recently, he's been looking like a bag of bones. Real quiet, too.
we can confirm that Bob was actually alive once, and his body rotted away without anywhere else to go, waiting for a hero to come by one day. And that's why the Guiding Light cannot be seen by any of the creatures, is because he lost his original celestial body, so he's only able to interact with you, a human being, and not someone like El Goblino. Guiding Light's experiment that caused the realities to shift, not only did it take the hotel itself from one dimension to another, it also connected more realities into our reality, like the place we see in rooms where Bob comes from, and some other places where El Goblino and Jeff come from. And that's why I think that these three creatures come from an alternative reality, and they were forced to cross dimensions because the very first line of dialogue I told you guys.
Oh yeah, stay a while if you like. We are the only creatures here who won't try to kill you, hombre.
Our red little goblin doesn't attack you because they were not created to protect the hotel like the other entities were, like Figure and Seek. These three have a mind of their own, and they have come here accidentally against their will, surviving on a whim. One of them have already fallen. Another speech from El Goblino reveals that the monster are also after these three survivors, and not only just you.
Monsters are everywhere trying to get us. This is so trash, dude.
So there you have it. That's the origin story of El Goblino. Bob, the skeleton that speaks 1,000 words without even speaking. Bob's backstory is really interesting and one of the most important backstories needed for tying the entire story of Doors together. Who the heck is Bob the skeleton? Well, Bob is actually your best friend. Now, let me explain. So Bob is actually from another game called Bob is Missing, made by Nico Rocks 555. Same guy who made the game Rooms. So the story is you and Bob get separated and Bob gets trapped in a forest. But the catch is there are supernatural entities trying to kill you, which confirms that there are more entities than the evil entities we find indoors in other realities. So in the game, you have to find Bob who is missing, which is the beginning of the entire storyline. And after you successfully find Bob and escape through a portal with Bob, every time you save Bob, you'll notice that Bob actually runs a little faster than you and reaches the portal way earlier than you. This could be really important. So after you and Bob get through the portal, you get separated once again. On one hand, Bob ends up in the rooms area and you end up in the beginning of the Doors lobby, as you see a floating bridge right there. But Bob arrives a lot earlier than you, meaning Bob approaching the white portal actually altered the time by a lot. So after Bob arrives at Rooms, he finds Curious Light and the other entities. And I want you guys to note this. Only humans can see Celestial. So only Bob and you can see Guiding Light and Curious Light. Someone like El Goblino cannot see the Celestial or Guiding Light. I'm legally blind. So Bob somehow makes it out of Rooms, dropping his name and his purple keycard on one of the desks, leaving it behind for you to find it as a message that he's actually okay and alive. After escaping the entire 1,000 rooms in Rooms, he arrives at Doors, the real Doors, where everything takes place. Once he arrives here, he finds another friend called El Goblino. El Goblino and Bob become best friends, taking down monsters together. El Goblino, who came from another reality just like Bob did, bonded together and they made it to door 52. With Bob's help and Guiding Light's guidance, which only Bob could see, they called it a quits and decided to make the door 52 their home. From dealing with all the entities and Figure at door 50, they gave up and years upon years went by. And at that time, El Goblino grew in a size a little bit and Bob, let's just say he's in a better place now. After a few years, you spawn in, but for you, it's been an instant. But that has not been the same case for Bob. You also make it to door 50 with the help of Guiding Light and finally get to meet your old friend Bob, whom you cannot even recognize anymore. And what remains is a red goblin and a tentacle monster with blue eyes. El Goblino still talks about Bob as if he's alive because of spending years upon years with him in this abandoned hotel. So this was the story of your lost best friend and our beloved Bob. Jeff, one of the only 3 friendly characters, who's probably the most helpful in the entire game. This guy's backstory is like the most simplest backstory ever. Jeff and El Goblino, I believe, came from the same reality and they were both sucked together into the Doors reality where they met Bob. As we see El Goblino comparing old Jeff's sandwiches versus the new overpriced sandwiches. That's about it for Jeff. So, all the entities I just covered are only the important entities of the game, and only those entities provide a significance to the story of Doors. Entities like Rush, Eyes, Ambush, Screech, Halt, Dupe, Glitch, Snare, Jack, Timothy, Window, Void, and the last 3 entities from Rooms, and maybe even the entities from Bob is Missing. These entities do not play any significance to the story, and they're basically there to stop you from getting to door 100 and protecting the entire hotel made by Guiding Light. So they don't really have an origin backstory. But like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm coming out with an entire Doors timeline video where I explain what exactly the story of Doors is about and how every single entity in the game plays a part of the story. And I'm pretty sure I've cracked the code. Alright, now you might be wondering, Floor 2 just came out 2 weeks ago. What is Blood waffling about? Floor 3 doesn't even exist. Well, I've figured out the whole storyline for the next floor, which is going to be the castles. And I might have cracked the code for the entire lore for Doors. MadPat died so that I could pick up the torch, and that's exactly what I'm about to do. So, everyone strap in, grab some popcorn as we unlock what's past this door. So, let's start where we left off, as Grumble gets eaten by Seek. The Queen Grumble is now infected by Seek, and after finding this out, we can successfully connect the Giggle, Grumble, and the Screech family together. So, the Queen Grumble gives birth to Giggles who are all around the mines, but we can see in floor 150, they have been infected and turned into Screeches, and they've been killed by the other Grumbles so that they don't endanger the Grumble's nest. Now, the Queen Grumble is infected, we can guarantee that we are going to be running into her into floor 3 as an infected Grumble, just like Screech. That's something we can confirm to expect in floor 3. Now let's talk about Seek. Like, how the crap is Seek so powerful? Now, Seek is actually quite complicated, as we have to use some headcanoning and theorizing to investigate Mischievous Light and her origin story instead of Seek, as I suspect that Mischievous Light is the one who is controlling Seek all this time. Now, the devs have confirmed that Seek doesn't have any shape or form, but rather takes the form he finds best. But how is it that Seek takes his shapes, and what material is Seek? Well, I speculate that Seek is made of tar. So this explains Seek's gooey-like appearance, who's able to take the shape of anything. Now, why do I say that Seek is made out of space tar? Well, it's simple. We are quite literally stuck in the middle of space. I'll come back to this in a later part in the video. Tar is a black, sticky, gooey substance that can be found in space. So, Mischievous Light, I speculate, is using space tar to create and morph Seek into the humanoid form or the damn Seek form we see at the end of floor 2. But you might be wondering, who is Mischievous Light? Never met anyone called Mischievous Light. We only know Guiding Light and Curious Light, right? Well, I believe that we have been fighting against Mischievous Light this whole time. So during Seek's chase, when he's coming out of the freaking ground, we see him surrounded by red light. Now, red light equals Mischievous Light, right? Not really. I have proof to back this up. So during the floor 2 ending, when Seek comes out and infects the Queen Grumble, if I slow down the footage, you can see that the red glow is still there as it infects the Queen Grumble. And then Seek pops out with the same glow. Now, isn't it very ironic that the Queen Grumble dies right in front of a castle? The Queen Grumble dying in front of a castle seems very cliche. I'm going to say this right now. We might be coming across the king of the castle in floor 3. Besides, if there is a castle, there has to be a king, right? Like, that's kind of obvious. But I'll come to this in just a bit. But let's talk about Mischievous Light. So, if we go throughout the hotel, we can see that at floor 60, there's a painting called Space Time. Now, this painting explains everything. In the painting, we see 3 entities, and they are Guiding Light, who is the crescent moon. We also see Curious Light, and finally, the modifiers icon. Now, the modifiers are directly connected to Mischievous Light. The modifiers have the ability to literally control every entity indoors. She can control the aggressiveness of the entities we encounter all throughout the floors. Now, Mischievous Light can make the game easier. What about that? Now, that's a great point. But if you turn the easy modifiers on, it comes with a cost. A cost of no progression, meaning no badges and almost no knobs. And the doorways to rooms is actually closed. And I feel like the modifiers we have are more of a gameplay mechanic, and Mischievous Light is the one who connects all the lore and the storyline together. So if you play the Backrooms update of Doors, which was added in the Hunt update, once we die to Blitz, we can see Curious Light actually gives us a big lore dump. So once we die, we see Curious Light say, "Oh, one of my favorites. She says we should call this one Blitz." Now, why on earth would Curious Light say this is one of my favorites? Bro, isn't he by our side? Is he evil as well? Well, this is where everything starts to make sense. So, I speculate Guiding Light is the good, the righteous one out of the three Celestials. Curious Light, the bad, who is neither good nor evil. He's just curious. And finally, the ugly, who is Mischievous Light. She is full of malice. She is the embodiment of evil. Now, game theory and a bunch of you have said that the lights are actually architects rather than being celestials. But I'm afraid this might not be the case, and this is where game theory kinda missed the mark. Now, we all know if we translate this symbol, this says one of three architects marked by celestials assists you. Now, the thing is, the word architect is kind of murky. It means someone who can create structures and stuff. But in certain contexts, the word architect can mean an item. So, example, the crucifix is a piece of architect created, or rather, marked by a celestial who is Guiding Light. And Guiding Light, Curious Light, and Mischievous Light are all celestial beings, because from the crucifix visual we can see that Guiding Light is the crescent moon, and also from the painting we can see that Guiding Light is the moon and Curious Light is the star. And the word celestial means bodies in space, so the celestials are none other than the three lights we see in game. And the three celestials have each marked an item with their powers. The crucifix for Guiding Light, the vial of starlight for Curious Light. Now, this makes me wonder what piece of architect has Mischievous Light marked. Now, people have said that the lights are actually the architects because we can see Guiding Light create a literal minecart from scratch. So if Mischievous Light can create or morph, seek into whatever form she wants, it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that Guiding Light has the power to create something, which would also support that Mischievous Light is able to control Seek, and she's the one who's transforming Seek into all the Seek creatures. Now, the deciphered message from the crucifix, written in the Winding font, tells us there are three architects and multiple celestials. I've proven that the three light beings are the celestials and not the architects, but rather there are three separate pieces of architects throughout the whole of Doors. Crucifix for Guiding Light, but in the past, Curious Light's architect piece was actually the NVCS 3000 tablet, but after the Mines update, the NVC tablet was removed from the game entirely, and it was replaced with the Vial of Starlight. I'll come to that in just a second, but the NVCS tablet was first released, and when it was first released, I knew from that moment that this belonged to none other than Curious Light, and it was marked by Curious Light. Because if you actually realize what the tablet is used for, it can find hidden objects behind closets and drawers, and a yellow star glows in that direction. The yellow star indicating to none other than our second celestial, who is Curious Light, who's also known as the big yellow star as we see from the painting. And fun fact, only after we die do we actually get to see the true forms of the celestials like Guiding Light or Curious Light after we die. Now, after the Mines update, the devs have quite literally changed the tablet into the Vial of Starlight, which upon using it makes you super fast and gives you like 100 extra health, and it can be used 4 times, which is really overpowered in my opinion. Honestly, it might be more powerful than the Crucifix, who knows?
So, it's like drugs?
It's better than drugs, Jeremy.
The past tablet was marked by the celestial Curious Light, and now it's been changed into a more obvious reference to Curious Light, the Vial of Starlight. So, this might make you wonder, what's Mischievous Light's architect piece? Well, it's not in the game yet, but I theorize that we're not gonna get a piece marked by Mischievous Light. Or if it is, it will not come to any use for us. Perhaps if we use Mischievous Light's architect piece, we might spawn a ton of mobs instead. It might be used in an entirely different way. Or perhaps we have to extrapolate Mischievous Light's power into a piece of architects ourselves. Well, this is something for the devs to decide, but we most definitely are going to get one more piece of architect made alongside the other two, which are the Crucifix and the Vial of Starlight. Now, previously I talked about the king and there possibly being a king in floor 3. A castle without a king is kinda pointless. So I'm gonna come back to that point now. This image you see right now of the statue, which was updated in the Mines update. Before the update, everyone thought that this was Guiding Light's statue. But why would only Guiding Light have a statue of his own? And upon further analyzing this statue, we can see that it actually has a crown kind of thing, which is literally Seek's eyes. Now, even in the game files, this is called eyelids. And I theorize that this isn't Guiding Light's statue, but rather the statue has the look of a Robloxian, rather than any celestials we have seen from the painting. It doesn't resemble a crescent moon, nor a star, so it cannot be the true form of any celestial that we have seen, because we see their true forms when we die. So I speculate that there's someone totally new that we have yet to meet. Perhaps this could be the statue of the king, and the 3 items attached to him are the celestials. The crown being Seek, aka Mischievous Light. The wing and the sword could represent Guiding Light and Curious Light respectively, and they were once related to the king in some sort of way. And due to some tragic event, everything went into a limbo. If you look at the stone tablet in front of the king's statue, after translating this from the Winding font, we see that this word means limbo. And limbo means a state of place which has come to a stop. It is neither progressing nor is it going back, but rather everything is stuck in one place. I'm gonna show you something which will make you realize that, oh my god, everything was right under our noses all this time. So when we first spawn into the game in the lobby, if you go outside, we can see that we're literally in outer space floating, and it's raining. As far as I know, it doesn't rain in space. We can also see that the hotel/lobby is floating, where there are moving objects that are not falling but rather stuck in place. But if we progress into the game and go into one of the rooms in the hotel, and if we look outside the window, we can see that it's still raining, which is interesting. But if we progress further into the mines and we explore some of the open parts of the map, we can see that the rain still hasn't stopped. Even after beating floor 2 and going to the castle, a whole lot of time has passed, but the rain has still not stopped, and rain must end at some point. And unless we tie everything back together, we are in fact all stuck in a limbo where the rain is never ending. This proves that we're also stuck in a limbo. I'm on to you, Red. I'm on to you, buddy. I'm on to you. Now obviously the game is still progressing and the devs have implemented lore into the game, but they're still planning things out as everything progresses. Even the devs don't know what the ending of Doors is gonna be. But I theorize that some sort of an event caused all 3 celestials except Mischievous Light to lose their celestial forms, which has turned them into just sparkles of dust. They have lost their true forms, as we see that Guiding Light and Curious Light, they both need our help getting to the end of this mystery. As we see Curious Light literally say, "Please do continue, it would be helpful," and Guiding Light quite literally being our only ally in every situation. And without Guiding Light, we would have been dead by now, as he literally saves our life in door 150 when he spawns a minecart. I theorize that Mischievous Light had something to do with causing everything to go into a limbo. As we see the statue, which is obviously an important figure, the figure's eyes are very intentionally covered by none other than Seek's rings. Now I speculate that Mischievous Light is behind all the entities that spawn in the game, like Rush, Ambush, and every other entity in the game. So if you look into how Rush actually is summoned, whenever you open a door, an entity has a chance to spawn, almost as if opening a door is like a portal that opens the doors to let unknown entities spawn into our reality. So whenever Rush spawns, there's an earthquake and the lights flicker as he enters through a portal into our realm. Now opening doors literally means opening a portal that lets an evil entity into our world from Curious Light's realm. And I'll cover the realms part of the video where all the celestial reside in just a bit. But when we die to an entity and Guiding Light is giving us guidance, he doesn't know the names of a lot of entities, but rather he says, "You died to who you call Halt." Now the devs have actually confirmed this over on Twitter, saying, "Fun fact, it's actually you who names all the creatures." But as we know from Curious Light's death message, when you die to Blitz, he says, "Oh, this is one of my favorites," meaning he knows the entities exist. And since Guiding Light doesn't know the names of the entities, this confirms that Guiding Light nor Curious Light can be the she that Curious Light talks about. And this leaves only Mischievous Light. Now the realms that I just mentioned, these realms are areas around the space-time which belongs to each of the Celestials. So in order to get into the rooms, we need the skeleton key, which is a special key, and without it, you cannot go into the portal that leads us into rooms. These realms are all connected with one another, and the skeleton key was the key that opened the portals to rooms. Now rooms has some interesting things, like doors is actually inspired from the game Rooms. Remember that we are factually all stuck in a limbo? Well, if we look at another meaning of limbo, it leads us to a more theological meaning. So in Catholic theology, limbo was once believed to be a state of place where unbaptized infants who died were suspended. Unbaptized infants, you say? I'll just let game theory explain this one.
In Spanish, El Goblino is a very literal translation, but a more colloquial term for goblin is duende, claws with 0 thumbs. And wouldn't you know it, but that's another trait that we see of the duende in folklore. And all of this information helps us to start piecing together how Goblino wound up in the hotel. You see, the most common origin of the duende in Mexican folklore was when a child died before they were baptized, becoming these morally ambiguous beings that caused mischief. Believe it or not, this is actually one of the reasons why baptizing infants is such common practice nowadays in Catholicism.
Now the Celestials play the biggest roles indoors. It's an easy puzzle to solve. Every bad thing that happens to us is caused by none other than Mischievous Light, who is also the reason we're stuck in a limbo in the first place. And it was all Mischievous Light's plan. As we escape rooms after we go through A1000, we can return back to our main doors timeline, where that place is very similar to the beginning of the lobby of the hotel, and it also shows that there are more portals to other realities as well as the rooms. And if you pay close attention, at the end of rooms A100, there's no rain, meaning this part of the Doors game isn't taking place inside of a limbo, meaning there is a way out to end this limbo. We can either unstuck the world or we can escape this world out of Mischievous Light's games, who is trying her best to stop you from undoing the limbo. But hey, that's all a theory, a game theory. Now, please do let me know what you think in the comments, as I really want to know what you guys think about all this theory. And be sure to subscribe and like the video. Alright, this is the most accurate timeline for doors on YouTube. With the little hints that doors gave us, this is the most accurate timeline and theory I could conjure up. And this has now been updated to fit in with the outdoors update. Let me know in the comments what you guys agree with and disagree with. And be sure to like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. A long time ago, there lied three celestials, the creator of the universe. The oldest sibling being Curious Light, the youngest sibling being Guiding Light, finally the rebellious middle child, whom we don't even know the name of. But for story's sake and determined by her behaviors, we'll call her Mischievous Light. The three celestials are in charge of the entire universe. They have power beyond imagination, the ability to give knowledge, the ability of creation, and of course, malice. The Celestials reside in a vacuum of space and taking a temporary shape, respectively. Curious Light taking the appearance of a bright yellow star, Guiding Light being a shining blue crescent moon, and Mischievous Light taking the shape of a galaxy as their preferred appearance.
Enough! The two of you, stop this nonsense at once. Mind your business. Is this how you choose to conduct yourselves? Such behavior is unbecoming of either of you.
Thousands of years would go by, and the three Celestials would be doing their work of creation and bestowing knowledge on the universe. This is when the three Celestials also blessed the planet Earth. The birth of humans would take place, and they would also create life, create structural places, and they would even do evil and malicious deeds due to Mischievous Light's influence.
That's not true. You saw he hit his head on the rocks. Yeah, I swear I did not do it. I didn't do this. He tripped and hit his head. I swear. I swear. I didn't do this.
But Celestial Mischievous couldn't bear this. Humans recreating and replicating the gods. She despised the humans the most. Every time they would spread knowledge or create structure and create life, she would feel mocked. Saw this as a mockery to the three deities. But she didn't take action to wipe out all humans, as humans were favored by her two other brothers, Celestial Curious and Celestial Guiding. Mischievous Light was never fond of her siblings, as they were not bothered by the actions of the humans, but rather supportive, and this angered her and grew her hatred towards the humans as well as the two siblings. So she would come up with the perfect plan to take them down, as well as put an end to the humans who replicated the gods and her brothers. This plan took thousands of years to come into fruition, so she plotted and planned her rebel. The time had finally come, and she had used a forbidden spell that she created, which would make her the queen of the universe, with her both siblings gone and the humans, who were the most intelligent species, wiped from existence. At last, she made it happen. She stripped the power from both Celestial Curious and Celestial Guiding. Their once physical body with immense power and knowledge had disappeared, and they became nothing but a sparkle of dust. And you'll notice that only after you die that you get to meet their real bodies, that are the crescent moon and the star. This imbalance of power and this powerful chanted spell would cause the whole universe to get stuck in a limbo. The limbo where everything is stuck in place and nothing is progressing, as we see the rain never stops, from door 1 to all the way to door 200. It is still pouring. The Celestials were still alive, and the limbo would not affect them as they are literally deities, so they would just float into outer space as sparkles of dust. But in a last-ditch effort, the Celestial Guiding would use up all his power to teleport some of the structures from Earth right to him in the middle of space. These places and structures were blessed by guiding light and curious light for humans, like the hotel and the mines and the castle. These places were anomalies from everywhere else, and these places would have items like crucifixes and vials of starlights placed by the gods for the humans as heavenly items. Near guiding light and curious light, the limbo is non-existent. So in outer space, in a small little area, a bubble has been created where the canonical story of Doors actually takes place. This bubble where the two Celestials resided and the teleported locations were placed caused the bubble to not be affected by the limbo. So everything inside was working perfectly. Time was moving. Doors were opening and machines were working as intended inside that bubble. Curious Light, on the other hand, was specifically locked away behind doors, which were locked now by keys only created by deities. Curious Light was sealed away to a different part of the bubble. Curious Light, staying true to his character, he is an easygoing Celestial who is neither evil nor good. He's just going with the flow. Our hero's entrance takes place around this time. Our hero, aka you, the player, you are dead. You were supposed to be dead due to an accident, and your life was on the verge of ending. It was on the tipping scale between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Your soul was a wandering one, which caused you to be teleported to the bubble of the Doors universe, since it had nowhere else to go, as everything was getting stuck in the limbo. You spawn in the hotel and you're dumbfounded by being alive and are surprised at everything you see and where you are. In the middle of nowhere, in outer space, this seemingly second life is a blessing. So you make your way down to the hotel elevators and you experience playing Doors for the first time. It all feels foreign to you. You learn how to open doors. You learn how to find gold and how to use keys and other items. But suddenly, the lights flicker as an evil entity has been summoned right behind you. And that was exactly the case. Every time you would open a door, it was like opening a portal from another reality, and you're letting in the evil being enter into this little bubble. The first time you face an entity like this is Rush, and you die to Rush. You have died twice now. But you see that you come right back to life again. This is odd because humans only live once. But since Mischievous Light caused the whole universe to go into a limbo, your soul cannot go anywhere and you are stuck in this bubble forever. You come back to life, retaining all memory and having a better understanding of your situation. You learn from every mistake you make and eventually go further into the hotel. You also start to notice your guardian angel guiding light is assisting you throughout your journey, as he wants nothing but to restore the world as it was. He is our only ally in this new world. So every time you open a new door, the entity spawns in, as it also has nowhere else to go, being stuck in a limbo, and is sent right to the bubble, coming to attack you. You make it to door 50 and you notice a bizarre entity. An entity that has no eyes, no nose, and is a total savage monster. This monster is called
Figure. This monster from another world cannot see and can only hear sound and has a really sensitive hearing, and he resides in the library, where you have to find books in order to open up the library door. You'll notice that the books are marked by one of the Celestials, Guiding Light. This place and the hotel was blessed by the Celestials, where they would send anomalies into the human world to guide and enlighten the humans. With the help of Guiding Light, you make it past door 50. To your shock, you find friends. You're greeted by 3 unusual entities: El Goblino, Jeff, and Bob. These 3 are the only living beings in this place. Well, actually, 2 now, since Bob has died. These characters also have unique backstories. El Goblino was teleported just like some of the other entities when Guiding Light used his powers. He is a goblin who was separated from his family and wife. He's in his 20s and early 30s. He was one of the smartest goblins in his world, being a happy family man by working hard to provide for his wife. He was a hard-working individual who was on his way back to work when he suddenly was teleported into this place called the hotel. He was shocked and surprised by what he saw, but he looks around him and he sees his new best friends. When he was teleported, there were other 2 beings that were also teleported alongside him, one of them being Bob and the other one was Jeff. Bob is actually the only other human in this bubble of the Doors universe. Bob was a human from the universe Bob is missing, where there is another person you can play as in a parallel universe where Bob needs to be saved, and after being saved, he is greeted with a white portal. This portal was what led him to the Doors universe, where he meets his new best friend, El Goblino and Jeff. These 3 made their way down the elevator as well, and they are attacked by entities, screeches, eyes, and even figures. They had a ridiculously long and hard time in the hotel, and they finally decide to make it past Figure. Figure makes them lose all their hope, and they call it a break, and they set up shop on door 52. Bob and El Goblino sit on the table and they talk about their life experiences. This is where he shares the fact that he has been here for too long, and he misses his wife. El Goblino's salvation was her, his wife. The earring that he's wearing was also given to him by his love of his life, which is the only thing that reminds him of her, and he cherishes it, wishing one day he can get out of this hellhole with weird entities behind every door. Bob, on the other hand, is aging rapidly, as both of them have different life expectancy. So Bob decays away, listening to El Goblino talk about her, and he is at peace, dying next to his new best friend, who was El Goblino. El Goblino, traumatized, still thinks that Bob is alive, and he's still talking to his best friend's corpse. Jeff is an unknown entity who rarely talks and only shares prophecies, and El Goblino and Jeff could never really understand each other. But Jeff, being a businessman, would set up shop for any passers-by. He put up advertisements to bring in customers and flip those for a profit. He sells items he finds all throughout his journey to door 52. When we first meet these 2 entities, we talk to El Goblino, and this is when he tells us a lot of stuff, and that Bob had seen things in door 60. Meaning they had made it further but decided to call the mission off and chill at door 52. He says that Bob had seen these sparkly things, but they were not blue like the ones that you've been seeing all this time, and it was none other than Curious Light. Curious Light was sealed away by Mischievous Light. You can buy a skeleton key from Jeff's shop that he found in the hotel, and this would free Curious Light once and for all from the imprisonment by Mischievous Light. You make it through the door into Curious Light's realm. In this realm, the crucifix and Guiding Light's powers do not work. This place is called the Rooms. This place is also haunted by evil entities, just like the place in the hotel. But you've already freed Curious Light, and now he's there to help you. When you die in Rooms, you get greeted by Curious Light rather than Guiding Light, alluding to the fact that you're in his realm now. Curious Light is really laid back, and he doesn't really help you much, and states the obvious. but it is clear that he says that he needs your help. So you decide to help him as the transaction was mutual. You also needed Curious Light's help. He has now unlocked the pathway to the back doors of the hotel. This allows you to collect one of the items that require you to fix this entire mess. The vial of starlight is made by Curious Light and is placed by him in the back rooms to assist anyone on their journey. And this was the desperate time that you needed such power in your hand. So you find the vial of starlight after making it alive from the back room. And if you die in the back rooms, you'll notice that you see this speech when you die to Blitz. Curious Light says this speech, which confirms Mischievous Light is indeed a she, and she is the one naming these creatures as stated by Curious Light. You make it out of the back rooms, and Curious Light now teleports you to the main hotel room again, using his portal that he creates. But you'll notice that the portal was a one-time use, and that's because he has been stripped from all of his power. You make it far and deep into the hotel, and there's been this character that I haven't mentioned, none other than Mischievous Light and Seek. Seek, the soldier of the devil. Seek is the most evil creature in the whole Doors universe. At door 42, you encounter him. As he takes the shape from nothing but black goop, he takes the shape of the most intelligent being in the universe, a human. He becomes your species and chases you down, and he is pissed at you. He wanted you dead right this instant. But Seek is not a living entity. Seek is the darkness taking a shape of Mischievous Light. She is using Seek and morphing this black substance to take you down. She is using Seek to keep an eye on you, and she is furious that a human has managed to make it through the limbo barrier and is spoiling her plans. So Seek chases you down, collapsing the hotel and causing fire around you and giant hands trying to take away your life. But you somehow barely make it out alive, and Guiding Light closes the door behind you, buying you more time to progress further. You finally reach door 90, and you notice that this place looks different than any other place in the hotel. You notice a statue made of a being, and there's a tablet saying limbo. This statue was created by humans as they worshipped the celestials. They would create a statue for the god that they thought was giving them blessings and knowledge. At last, you make it past door 100, and you're greeted by an old enemy, and it is none other than Figure, and he is furious and he wants you dead. So you try your best to survive him and collect all the fuses around the elevator room, and you barely turn on the elevator and barely make it out alive further down into the mine. You have two items that you need in order to fight. One of them is the vial of starlight. The other one is a crucifix. The crucifix marked by Guiding Light can crucify any evil entity. So once you use it, it takes away the entity to the underworld where it is banished. But there are some entities that cannot be killed, and you notice that the crucifix turns red, which shows that Mischievous Light is stopping them from dying.
Alright, let's jump right into the nitty-gritty of the video. We're gonna first talk about the grand, giant world Lotus that is outside of the hotel and in the outdoors. That is a crazy entity. It is so big and it has so much power and control over the door's world. It's insane. So the world tree has literally penetrated into the lobby, and you can see that there's a Lotus right here. So once you reach the final door at like 0 kilometers, you're gonna find the World Lotus. I'm gonna be combining the World Lotus, the Bramble, and the Eye Stalk, who's the new Seek, all together because they all share the same lore. Alright, for the World Lotus, he's at the final door of the game, and it's basically a giant plant with a giant lotus on top. This thing literally looks like a creature out of Stranger Things gone completely mad. It is an uncontrollable giant lotus plant with like a bunch of tentacles which stem from the branch of the flower all the way to the entire door's universe. Because this plant, you can actually see it all throughout the door's world. You can see it in, okay, you can't see it in rooms, but you can see it in the hotel. You can see it in the mines, way down into the mines, and the outdoors obviously has the giant plant. I will not be surprised if this is also gonna be in floor 3, the castle. This thing, the World Lotus, is on par in terms of power and strength and even control to Seek. Yes, literally, damn Seek might get beaten by the World Lotus. This new addition, the World Lotus, goes to show that there's a lot of things that is going on in the door's universe that we don't know. We just don't have any idea about. Right outside of another door, there might be a literal, I don't even know, an angel. So the final door in the outdoors, how you escape it is you actually need to cut off branches and arms of the World Lotus, and then it like opens up a pathway which you can then escape. But you do get stopped by the Bramble, who the World Lotus is in full control. Bramble is a new entity, and it is one of the strongest entities ever added to the game. The Bramble is built literally from plants and a lamp, but there's an interesting thing that you can notice. On its shoulder, you'll find that he has a flower, a lotus. I'll talk more about the lotus in just a bit, but the Bramble has a lamp on his head, and how you survive him is when his light goes out, that's when you can move. And if he has his light on and you move, he's gonna like kill you. He's basically gonna kill you instantly. He's really overpowered. He somewhat functions like the Figure. The Figure, if he hears you, then he comes at you. Same for the Bramble, but with a light feature. If you notice carefully, the Bramble actually has a freaking tongue. That's creepy. So the World Tree, just like Seek, okay, I keep mistaking the World Tree and the World Lotus. So the World Tree and the World Lotus are basically the same thing. Anyways, so just like Seek, the World Lotus also takes a small humanoid figure to fight against you. And the World Lotus gives this life from the lotus that is on the Bramble's shoulder. I believe that the lotus that is on the shoulder is actually what gives life to these creatures. So let's say if we were to cut off his lotus, he would instantly die. The Bramble would instantly die. We can see that the Bramble can literally spawn and summon out of the ground near a lamppost. So it isn't actually the plant that is alive or the lamp, it is actually the lotus, which is the heart of the Bramble. It looks like that the World Lotus and its giant form is right above the mines. It looks like the certain parts of the door's universe bubble is controlled by Curious Light, like the outdoors for example. They're under Curious Light's reign. The groundskeeper, who was actually created by Curious Light, just like Figure, who was created to protect the library. Curious Light created another keeper who is tasked with protecting the outdoors, once again paralleling the library and the hotel, which is protected by the Figure. The groundskeeper perfectly parallels Curious Light as well. who is a neutral entity. He's nor good nor evil, but the groundskeeper is the same way. He isn't afraid to put his life on the line and kill other entities for the greater good of the Doors universe. Even in one of Curious Light's death messages, we can see that he literally praises the groundskeeper, saying that I'm really proud of its work. The groundskeeper even spawns out of like a small porta potty looking thing, which has Curious Light's mark on top of it, alluding to the fact that Curious Light is in fact creator of the groundskeeper. Case closed. We can also see that the little chamber where you find the lotus petals also have the Curious Light symbol on top. The chamber is locked with a key protecting the lotus petals by Curious Light, waiting for someone like you to come and save the Doors universe, which Mischievous Light has ruined. From one of the Curious Light's death messages, when you die to the monument, we can see that he says the monument is such a good entity, it fooled even you. This clearly hints at the fact that Curious Light has high hopes for us and thinks of us as someone with a lot of importance. This could also hint at the fact that Curious Light was the one who created the monument, or this could also mean that it was created by Mischievous Light and Curious Light is just praising both Mischievous Light's creation and us. Almost like Curious Light was the one who created this entity to protect the source of life. And by the source of life, I mean plants. If we are being honest, without plants, who literally give us oxygen, and they're the key for our survival, Curious Light created an entity which protects the plant and in turn giving life to humanity. But it seems like that something terrible has happened and the plants, aka the world Lotus, is out of control, growing massive in size and trying to take over. What further solidifies my theory is Gramps. Now, Gramps is a new entity added into the Outdoors update. He's basically the father of the groundskeeper. Now, there's a feature that not a lot of people know about. I didn't make a video about it, but there are rose petals. Oh my god, I keep saying rose petals. There are lotus petals all throughout the map, and if you take 8 of them and give it to Gramps, Gramps is gonna like combine them and he's gonna make you a lotus, a full-on lotus. And what the lotus does is if you place it somewhere, it's gonna grow a plant. But the main feature is if you die, you spawn right back. Now, this is basically a feature where you can revive. The Outdoors doesn't allow you to revive with Robux, but instead the Lotus now gives you another chance in life, hence proving that the Lotus is what gives life to everything really. So if we collect all 8 of them, we can make our own Lotus and use the Lotus power against the world Lotus and come back to life. And we come back to life in literally the most angelic way I have ever seen ever. We literally sprout out of a lotus and with golden light everywhere. And if you search up what lotus actually symbolizes, we can see that it symbolizes rebirth and spiritual awakening. So this is very, very fitting. Alright, so we have established that the lotus actually gives life to everything, the eye stalk, the bramble, even us. And we can use it against the world Lotus. We can use its powers against it. But what even is the world Lotus and how is that thing alive and why is it so big? Well, I have another theory. So basically we all know that the subfloors are all under Curious Light, under Curious Light's influence. So Curious Light is the one who's speaking with us when we die in the Outdoors. Well, obviously we know that plants are alive, they're living creatures, but obviously this is the Doors universe. Creatures are insane. So my theory is, since all subfloors are under Curious Light's supervision, I believe that all the subfloors were created by Curious Light. He has some sort of power that has made the world tree this massive and this powerful, and its only motive is to control and convert the entire Doors world into plants, which is kind of a good thing, but it wants to kill us as well, so we are obviously against that. But it seems like Curious Light being the loser that he is, I don't know why Curious Light became so aggressive, so passive aggressive in the outdoors. He's literally zero help. I mean, he's always been zero help, but he's like rude now. Why is he rude? Alright, anyways, it seems that Curious Light has lost control over his body. Now, if you want to know what I'm talking about, then you might want to watch the Doors entire timeline video where I explain a lot of things that I think happened in the Doors universe. So basically, I think that Curious Light has obviously lost his body and he's just a bunch of dust particles, and his creations, his creatures like the world Lotus have gone mad. They have lost control, and it is up to us to help this guy's mistakes. Curious Light caused all of this problem, and now he wants us to fix it all. That's crazy, because we see him actively asking for our help. Like, he literally says that it would be helpful if you tried again, and a bunch of other things that he says, which don't really mean anything. But anyways, that is my theory onto what happened with the world Lotus, and how it's controlling the Bramble and the eye stalk, and what its motives are, and how we can beat it. Speaking of beating it, our man, the myth, the legend, the groundskeeper, I love him so much. He's probably my favorite Doors entity in the entire game. So in one of the Curious Light messages, if we die to Bramble, he says that he talks about the Bramble's light, and he also says that the groundskeeper has placed traps all throughout the last floor, and we have to use it. So this death message we have, it literally says the groundskeeper has conveniently placed traps to kill or cut off the limbs of the world tree, a world Lotus. And it looks like the little chainsaws we use in order to cut the limbs of the world Lotus were actually placed by the groundskeeper. Now, you would think that the groundskeeper is the keeper of all plants. He doesn't want any plant to die. He literally, if you literally step on grass, he'll attack you. But in the last floor, on the last door, that doesn't seem to be the case. He's actively trying to hurt the world Lotus, who's the biggest plant, which means they're clearly opposite each other. In fact, we see the groundskeeper literally kill Mandrake, who's a plant, and Eyestalk, as well as fight against Bramble. But that cutscene was phenomenal. So it looks like that the groundskeeper, yes, he's a keeper of plants, but he also seems to be against the world Lotus. And if we see the groundskeeper's entire character, we can see that it's obviously inspired by a scarecrow who is meant to scare crows away, as well as be the protector of lands in a garden. Now, the groundskeeper has a sight, and I don't know if you can actually take the sight. I've not figured that one out. But in the last door, when Bramble attacks the groundskeeper, he literally drops his sight, and you can press E on it and try to pick it up, but it's too heavy. But I theorize that the groundskeeper was actually created by none other than Curious Light as a protector for exactly what happened. Curious Light might have predicted that, oh, my experiments might go wrong, so let me just create a failsafe, and the groundskeeper is that failsafe. The groundskeeper keeps all plants in check, even the world Lotus and the Bramble, and literally slices the eye stalk in half. We can see in one of Curious Light's death messages that the groundskeeper is a neutral entity, and Curious Light seems to know a lot about it. Now, the groundskeeper is a neutral entity. It does not care about you. All it cares about is its crops. It doesn't even care if you die or live, but he still saves us for some reason, but whatever. He even protects us from Mandrake, so if a Mandrake is attacking you, he will literally cut it in half and save you. He's the MVP of the floor. So if you reach around 300 kilometers where Gramps is, you'll see that this place is actually the groundskeeper's home, and Gramps just chills there. We can see that the groundskeeper is actually like a lumberjack. There's a conveyor belt for tree trunks, so that might play into his role. But yeah, the groundskeeper, he's amazing. He has some of the best cutscenes in the entire game. He literally kicks the Bramble and survives the Bramble himself when he literally gets snuck up behind him. And it seems like the groundskeeper has been actively trying to fight off against the world Lotus, just like we see that there are traps placed in the last floor or door. So yeah, the groundskeeper, he's amazing. Him being a lumberjack and him cutting ice stalk and taking his wood with the lotus petals might hint at more things with the lotus. We can see the groundskeeper in the trailer putting up signs all throughout the outdoors not to step on the plant, which we see in the outdoors room. And his father, Gramps or Grampy, literally tells us that the lotus has a lot of power, and he crafts us an entire lotus flower. Alright, the next entity we have is Surge. Now Surge is actually really cool. So Surge is basically the rush of the outdoors, and how you encounter him is there's gonna be green lightning, which indicates that a surge is coming. He's basically a bolt of lightning, a yellow bolt of lightning entity, and all you have to do to survive him is you have to be under something. If you're under a cave, if you're inside a closet, or inside one of the houses, you'll be safe. He spawns in randomly throughout the entire playthrough, and he's really cool. Now the Surge actually has a face which looks just weird. Alright, the next entity we have is Mandrake. Now Mandrake is actually a plant which in real life actually is considered to be like a humanoid looking plant, which is really creepy. And the Mandrake basically like jump scares you and attacks you, and it kills you of a heart attack if you don't put him back in his place. Now I first thought that he was like one of the giggles who were infected by the plant, but that's not the case. He's a new entity entirely, and the groundskeeper actually kills mandrakes. So if you get attacked by a mandrake, groundskeeper will literally help you again. Now in the trailer we saw this plant entity which was like spinning and moving, and it was kind of black, and the groundskeeper actually kills it, but in the actual outdoors game we have not encountered this plant. So once again the groundskeeper kills off the evil plants and takes care of the good plants. Alright, the next entity we have is the most annoying entity in the entire game, and it is the Monument. The Monument literally follows you all throughout the game, and you have to basically look at him so that he's not moving. He's basically the Screech version of the outdoors, but like way more annoying. He has these 4 tentacles that look disgusting, and if you move away, if you move your camera away, he will literally sneak up at you and kill you. The Monument is inspired from the Weeping Angel from Doctor Who apparently, and it's a statue which moves like a spider. It looks disgusting, and it has to be one of the most annoying entities in the entire game. You barely hear it, and you have to keep on looking backwards at that creepy thing. I think they really need to nerf the Monument. And obviously the entire outdoors is filled to the brim with snares. Snares are not new, they're just annoying plants. That's it. Alright, I just wanted to talk about Curious Light in this section of the video. Curious Light seems to not be very helpful. I mean, he always wasn't, but this time around he just seems very rude and just really annoying. From what I've theorized, Curious Light was the one who caused all these problems to begin with, and he expects us to fix his mistakes while he's being a asshole. Compare him to the groundskeeper, who's he's always auto farming, but the groundskeeper helps you multiple times more than Curious Light, and he's supposed to be our guide. But it looks like to me that Curious Light has had a shift in his attitude for some reason.
You make it to floor 2, the mines, and you notice new entities and old familiar entities as well that attack you. But there's this one entity that stands out the most, and that is the Grumbles. A long time ago, a species known as the Grumbles would live together in harmony, just like any other animal species. The Grumbles are like an ant's colony. They have the Queen Grumble, who is the centerpiece of the entire civilization. Then they have the worker Grumbles, who feed the queen and work around the entire colony for food and shelter. And then there are the Giggles, who are the baby versions of the Grumbles, who eventually grow up to be Grumbles. The Grumbles live underground in remote places. They dig around the ground and make their home. The place we know as the mines is or was their home until it was raided and invaded by humans. This is the story of the Queen Grumble and how she was the last hope for the Grumbles' existence, but it has now come to an end. One day, a miracle would occur, as well as a tragedy at the same time. The birth of a certain Giggle would take place. The Giggle would come into the world, but at the cost of its mother passing away. The Queen Grumble, being the centerpiece of the entire civilization, now being out of the picture, would cause everything to go into shambles. But the Giggle was born special. The Giggle was born with 2 extra tentacles right out the gate. Instead of the regular Giggles who are only born with 4 tentacles and over time they grow the other 2, this Giggle was a little bit special. There was a prophesied tale in the history of the Grumble civilization. The day a child was to be born with 1 or more additional tentacles/limbs, the day would be swallowed and the day of reckoning would come very near. But it is they that will bring hope on the day of reckoning itself. She was the prize of the Grumbles colony. She would live like royalty, as one day she would have to carry the weight of its entire species on its back, which the tale has stated the honored one would have to follow. What differentiated this Giggle from the rest of the Giggles were that she was stronger, she was faster, and she was special with extra limbs at her disposal. Finding food and daily survival was not even a challenge for her. The Grumbles would feed on fossils under the ground, fungi and other food that they might find in their burrows. But as the prophecy would say, the day of reckoning was right around the corner after the birth of the Queen Grumble, which was a warning to the whole civilization, and one day a tragedy would hit. And it was the beginning of everything. Humans come across the Grumble's nest and the entire Grumble society. The humans were miners who were setting up their mining base, and they were mining for something really special. But even the little humans didn't know what the special thing was. And the little humans' greed would lead to the downfall of the entire Grumble species. The precious thing that the humans were looking for was still a mystery, which even the humans didn't know what it was, but it was supposed to be very valuable, as if it was a treasure. The humans would invade the Grumble's nest and take over its entire habitat. The Grumbles had just recently lost their queen, and upon losing the queen of the colony, the entire species would collapse. The Grumbles would lose their battle against the humans after a lot of desperate fighting. It had become a war against humanity and its advanced weaponry and TNT, which was blowing up their entire habitat. The TNT would break apart their humble burrow, as well as expose gold for the humans, which was a win-win situation from them. War had come to a close until there was only 5 Grumbles alive, and one of them being the future Queen Giggle, who was special. She alone was able to take out 10 humans and take on multiple bullets, and she was totally fine. But one of those nukes would imprint a scar on her forehead, which would never heal. It was a reminder of what had happened on this day, as well as it being a battle scars to differentiate her from all her peers. The Grumbles were once the most powerful species, but the humans had caught them at their weakest, which was unlucky for the Grumbles. The Grumbles would eventually flee into hiding, a safe space, abandoning their old home and their hard work. The humans would find the Grumble's nest and eventually transform that entire place into their own mining operation, placing minecarts and railway tracks and turning that into a gold mine, placing radars in their own base, as well as they made a giant bridge on the place the Grumbles once called home. The humans had transformed the entire nest into their own base, and after a long time in hiding, the Queen Giggle would eventually grow up, as she was ready to be a Queen Grumble, with 4 other comrades protecting her. The Queen Grumble alone is an army on her own. While they were hiding, they would plan a surprise attack on the humans who had once taken their home from them. These 5 Grumbles would return back to their home with a mission, the home that was turned into an industrial area for human resources. To the Grumbles' surprise, there was not a single human to be found. The Grumbles were at a relief but surprised at the same time. They had gotten their home back, which they once lost to the humans. But what could have made them flee so easily? I mean, literally a human abandoning gold resources is unheard of. This thought was always at the back of the now fully grown Queen Giggle, who had now fully grown up to be a Grumble. The Queen had to rebuild her colony. She would give birth to more and new Giggles, but something was off. She would give birth to new Giggles and they would discover that her kids would turn into disgusting mutant creatures which are called Screeches. Screeches are a mutant creature when a Giggle is infected by Screech and the creature turns into the Screech. Screeches were baby Giggles who were infected and all they could do is make psst noises and scream and attack anyone. This twisted way of infecting the minds of newly born Giggles could have only been his doing. This was another roadblock for the Grumble's economy, to the point that the children she had given birth to would be infected by this black goop-like substance. They all had to be killed off. This would eventually make the Queen Grumble lose her laughter. The Grumble species, who are known for laughing uncontrollably, she was the only one to never be able to laugh ever again. And rightfully so, having to kill your own children would make anyone lose their laughter. The Grumbles would never know who the black infestation belonged to. They would never come to know that it was Seek who had killed all the humans who had once taken their previous home. The Grumbles had become an endangered species. There were some Giggles who were able to survive, but it wasn't enough to sustain their colony. Seek had somewhat helped the Grumbles by killing all the humans, but at what cost? He would get rid of the miners and the invaders and return their home, but at the cost of their species being endangered. Seek helping the Grumbles backhandedly shows how sick and twisted he or she really is. Seek, the most evil and the most twisted character in the whole of Doors. He wants nothing but malice, almost as if he's the embodiment of mischievous deeds. Seek is the evildoer of all. He's controlled by Mischievous Light, one of the Celestials in Doors, as the 3 Celestials would control the entire world of Doors, and Mischievous Light is who controls all evil in the Doors universe. She's also the one who controls Seek as her personal puppet and her direct interaction with the world. Queen and the rest of the Grumbles were fighting a losing battle, and one day you show up to the mines after going through the entire hotel section and then eventually reaching level 150, the Grumble's nest. The Queen Grumble hits PTSD of losing all of her fellow comrades and friends and family because of you people. After she first sees you, it's almost like it's instinct to kill any human she sees on sight. The Queen, enraged and eager to take the revenge of her fallen family, she rushes at you with the intent of killing you for good. She'll kill you on sight from all that has happened in her past. You make it around the nest and try your best to survive. Imagine if 5 Grumbles were giving you such a hard time around the nest. Imagine a whole colony full of them. It would be impossible to escape from them, and even Seek knows this, so he struck the Grumbles down when they were at the most weak state and infected their entire race because of how powerful and how much potential the Grumbles really had, especially the Queen Grumble. You finally make it out of the hellhole that is door 150 and eventually make it out to the entire mines. But the enraged Queen Grumble wants her revenge for all that humanity has done to her. She comes crawling from the ground up, chasing you from the entire mine. She thinks that she will finally take her revenge and finally have something in her life by avenging her fallen comrades and at least get her laughter back. But it was Seek who would get the last laugh. Seek would come out of the ground and kill the Queen Grumble, the last hope for the Grumble species. And even then, she is no more. Seek infects the Queen Grumble and makes her the first infected Queen Grumble. The last hope is now gone, and this is the end for all the Grumbles there is. With the Queen Grumble now gone, and no other queen to be born, the other Grumbles are going to die off due to old age as their species' last survivors. The Queen's personal vendetta, choosing to take revenge on the humans instead of taking into account for the future of her species, would cause her downfall and the existence of her race. Seek, the mastermind who works in the most wicked ways, was the one to take her last laugh. And now we as the players have to fight against an infected Grumble who is going to be unbelievably difficult to deal with in floor 3. Seek will control the Queen Grumble as his little puppet, making her more powerful. Behind those eyes, there's not a single thought. This was the tragic story of the Queen Grumble, who you can only feel bad for, and only the devs know what Seek is going to do with her, and how exactly we're going to deal with this monstrosity in floor 3. You make your way to the 3rd floor of doors, the castle. And from there, the story continues.
In one of Curious Light's death messages, you can see that it says, "It's almost as if Bramble has assigned itself mechanics in order to act like any other entity." Meaning, the World Lotus and the Bramble are mimicking other entities from the Doors universe. And in this video, I'm gonna be paralleling all the entities that the World Lotus mimics. Alright, people think that the mandrakes are a mimic of Screech, but I don't think that is the case. I think the mandrake is a mimic of none other than Giggle, because how the Giggles kill you is they suffocate you and they just take your breath away. Similarly, not exactly, hence why this is a mimicked version, the mandrakes actually suffocate you or they attack you and they make you have a heart attack and they kill you, which is very similar to the Giggles as well as how they function. They pop out just randomly and they attack you and they kill you through a heart attack and Giggle through suffocation. And the World Lotus, I believe, is very, very, very similar to Damn Seek. That's right, the World Lotus and its giant tentacles are probably a mimic of Damn Seek and Seek in general, because Seek can literally take the shape of anything it wants. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments.
Fire!